My phone lights up with Mom's unique ringtone, the old country tune she used to hum while cooking Sunday dinners. I hit the speaker button, still balancing my laptop on my knees, curling further into the comfort of my home office chair. "Mara, sweetheart, are you busy?" Her voice bursts with that practice cheer she only uses when she has family updates. I minimized the spreadsheet where I had been running quarterly projections for a healthcare startup, a client proposal still unfinished. "Just wrapping up some numbers." "What's going on?" Mom pauses dramatically before dropping her announcement. "Your brother just purchased that lovely Tudor in Oakwood Hills. You remember it, the one with the stone walkway and those stunning maple trees." My fingers hover, frozen above the keyboard. Nolan bought a house in Oakwood Hills? The neighborhood where homes begin at $500,000, the same place where I lost a bidding war only last spring. "They're closing next week," Mom gushes. "Your father and I are thrilled." I sit straighter in my chair, blinking at the wall. "That's unexpected. Last month Nolan swore the market was overpriced." "Oh, well, we gave him a little help," she says lightly, as though mentioning pocket change. "We contributed $85,000 for his down payment. Nothing makes us happier than seeing our children settled." The words tilt my entire office sideways. 85,000. My hand grips the edge of the desk to ground myself. "Mom, that's incredibly generous." "You know how it is," she replies, tone warm and dismissive. "Nolan's starting his life, and that neighborhood will be wonderful when children come along. But you've always been so independent, sweetie. We figured you didn't need help." That word, independent, hits me like a slap. It's family shorthand for "we don't worry about Mara." Before I can gather my thoughts, my phone buzzes with a banking notification. "Unusual account activity detected. Attempted access to closed joint account number 4582. My stomach tightens. That was the account I shut down only 3 weeks ago, the one originally opened to help Dad when he lost his insurance and needed his medical bills covered. "Mom, I have to go. Something urgent came up at work." "Always working," she sighs with fond exasperation. "That's our Mara. Will we see you for brunch?" Her words fade into the background. My mind flashes instead to last month's dinner when Dad toasted Nolan for his new temporary landscaping job, praising him for finally doing real work. Meanwhile, my consulting business, the very one that paid their property taxes last year, was treated like a side hobby. "Mara? Are you there?" "I'm sorry, Mom. I've got to run." I end the call before she hears the tremor in my voice. My fingers immediately dial from memory. Sloane Parker's office, a receptionist answers. "It's Mara Ellison. Is she available?" "It's urgent." Moments later, Sloane's crisp voice comes through. "Mara, what's happened?" "My parents just attempted to access our old joint account. The one we closed last month. The attempt was logged. And earlier today, Mom told me they gave my brother $85,000 for a house." The timing feels connected. My words sound flat even to myself. There's a pause before she responds carefully. "I see. And what action would you like to take with this information?" I open my laptop again, creating a new spreadsheet. Across the top, I type family karma audit. In the first row I record, 85,000 given to Nolan for house. 0 given to Mara. "Mara? Are you still on the line?" Sloane prompts. "I'm here," I answer quietly. My hand drifts to the silver photo frame on my desk, last year's Christmas picture smiling back at me. All of us in matching sweaters, my arm wrapped around Mom's shoulders. Slowly, I turn it face down and slide it into the drawer. This is only the beginning. Sunday arrives. At brunch, the afternoon sun streams through the bay windows as I crouch next to Mom, tilting her phone to capture the whole family at the patio table. Dad and Nolan crowd together with Brooke, their smiles wide and well-practiced. "One more," I say, tapping the shutter. But a notification slides across the top of the screen, a group text. My thumb accidentally opens it. The thread is titled Ellison Family Chat. My stomach drops. I scroll, eyes catching fragments of conversations spanning 3 years, conversations I was never included in. "Dad, closing tomorrow on the Oakwood house. Finally beat those California transplants driving up the prices." Nolan, That family that outbid us last year moved to Seattle. Karma. The family that outbid them. My bid. On the Tudor with maple trees, the very home I had fallen for. Mom, remember we need to check Mara's joint account before she notices. Victor, can you stop by the bank Tuesday? Nolan, little Miss Independent won't even realize. She's too busy consulting to track her statements. Brooke, you guys are unbelievable. But hey, family takes care of family. My blood runs cold, fingers numb against the phone. Mara, are you finished? Mom's voice pulls me back. I hand the phone back automatically. Perfect shots, I manage, keeping my tone calm. I return to my seat, hyper-aware of the physical gap that separates me from them. The rest of the family sits shoulder to shoulder, chatter overlapping in an easy rhythm, while I occupy the opposite end like an afterthought at Thanksgiving. Nolan leans forward, elbows pressing into the tablecloth. So I've been thinking about replacing the roof right away. The inspector said it might last 5 more years, but why wait? I want copper accents, architectural shingles, everything. Brooke lights up beside him. That sounds beautiful. What's the cost again? $18,000. I lift my glass of water, running numbers in my head. $18,000. Another weighty investment. How exactly do you plan on covering that with your landscaping salary, Nolan? My tone is calm, more inquisitive than confrontational, but the effect is immediate. The entire table goes quiet. Mom stiffens, her back rod straight as though yanked upright by invisible strings. Why must you always sound so hostile? Her voice is clipped, carrying a warning. Dad sets his fork down with exaggerated care. That tone, Mora, is unbecoming. Men find it intimidating when women speak about money in such a way. Nolan chuckles, grabbing another biscuit without looking at me. There she goes again, our feminist Mora, counting pennies. Some of us actually enjoy life instead of tallying every cent. Mom steps in quickly, her napkin twisting smaller and smaller between her fingers. We're helping with the landscaping, of course. The yard has incredible potential, especially with those beautiful maple trees. The very trees where I once imagined placing a reading bench. Brooke beams, eager to join in. Family always looks out for each other. Your parents even helped me pay down my student loans. I honestly don't know how we'd manage without them. She clasps Mom's hand in gratitude. A vibration in my pocket interrupts the charade. A text flashes across the screen from a number I haven't seen in years. Riley Carver. We need to talk about Florida. Riley, my cousin. The so-called family outcast who disappeared from gatherings 5 years ago after a blowout with Dad over Grandma's estate. Before I can process, another message arrives. This one from Sloan. Discovered forged signatures on timeshare sale. Call me immediately. The dining room door swings open. Avery, my assistant, enters with composed assurance, a manila folder tucked under her arm. She nods politely at my family before approaching me directly. Apologies for interrupting brunch, but these require urgent attention. Her eyes, however, silently say something else. I'm here for you. Mom's pitch rises sharply. You brought work to family brunch? If you keep prioritizing business over family, we may have to rethink including you in holiday traditions. Dad's expression darkens. This stubbornness is damaging our relationship, Mora. Your brother would never bring work to a family table. Nolan hides a smirk behind his glass of mimosa. Maybe if you weren't so calculating all the time, you'd have found a husband willing to put up with you by now. I take the folder from Avery with steady hands, oddly detached from their words. For the first time, I see the pattern with crystalline clarity, how they've twisted my independence into a flaw, how my achievements have been reframed as shortcomings. Thank you, Avery. Rising from my seat, I tuck the folder under my arm. I should review these. As I step into the hallway, my phone buzzes again. Sloane's message is terse but searing. Documents received. This is worse than we thought. In the guest bathroom, I lock the door and lean against the cool marble counter, meeting my own reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back doesn't look defeated. She looks sharpened, resolute. The question forms clearly. Do I continue enabling those who treat my independence as open ground to exploit, or do I finally draw a boundary they cannot cross? The answer doesn't come in words, but in the lift of my chin and the steel anchoring my spine. Opening Avery's folder, I find 15 years of family financial records, neatly cataloged, entire sections highlighted. A sticky note on the front page in her precise handwriting reads, "You weren't imagining it." It's all documented. Just past midnight, my phone lights up with Nolan's name. I think about letting it ring out, but answer on the third tone. "Hey, what's going on?" My voice is neutral as I slip from bed, heading to the kitchen. "Mara, thank God," he blurts, his tone desperate, the same breathlessness he always reserves for money crises. The inspection uncovered black mold in the attic. I need $18,000 for remediation before closing next week. I pour a glass of water and take a deliberate sip. That's a significant sum. Have you spoken to the bank? You know they won't adjust the loan this late, he pleads. His tone softens. It's only temporary, 60 days at most. The microwave clock glows 12:17 a.m. I set my glass down with a sharp click. Did you ask Mom and Dad? Silence stretches before he admits, they told me to call you. Said you're flush from that healthcare contract. Of course they did. My finger traces the cold granite countertop. I can't help you, Nolan. What do you mean can't? Or won't? His voice hardens. This is family, Mara. Yes, it is. I end the call and block his number. Morning arrives with 3 voicemails from Mom, each dripping with escalating guilt. The last one knots my stomach. Honestly, Mara, I don't know why you're being so stubborn about helping your brother. Aunt Marla asked about you at Bridge Club yesterday, and I hardly knew what to say. Family supports family. That's the way we raised you. I delete all 3 without listening further and drive to my downtown office. The autumn sky is painfully clear, a bright blue arching over the city as my mood grows darker. Avery greets me at the elevator, coffee in hand, worry shadowing her eyes. Your 10 o'clock canceled, but your parents are waiting in the conference room. I stop in my tracks. Excuse me? They arrived about 20 minutes ago, insisted on speaking with you urgently. And your Kensington healthcare clients are due in 45 minutes. She lowers her voice. The timing couldn't be worse. I accept the coffee, inhaling its bitterness like armor. Tell them they have 15 minutes. When I step into the room, Mom rises instantly, arms outstretched for a hug I don't offer. Dad remains seated, surveying the office as though assessing its square footage. Darling, we've been so worried, Mom begins, her perfume overwhelming the air between us. You haven't returned our calls. I'm preparing for an important client meeting, I reply flatly, staying on my feet. What's so urgent? Dad clears his throat. It's about your brother's house. The inspection uncovered serious issues that require immediate funds. I'm aware. He called me at midnight. Then you understand the urgency, Mom says quickly, placing her hand over mine. I resist the urge to pull away. We've already done so much with the down payment. Perhaps you could handle this small repair. Small. $18,000 is small. The word lands like lead. Mom blinks rapidly, while Dad's jaw sets hard. Mora Elise, he says, invoking my full name as he once did when I was 10 years old. Your brother needs help. My turn to remind you, I say evenly, that I needed help last spring when I lost the bidding war on the exact house he's now buying with your support. You told me the market would correct itself, that patience was the smarter move. The silence that follows is thick, stretching too long, until Avery taps gently on the doorframe. Miss Ellison, your Kensington clients are waiting in the lobby. Thank you, Avery. I turn back to my parents, my expression flat. I have work to finish. Mom's face folds inward, lips trembling. We just want to understand why you're acting like this. Like what, Mom? Independent. The word burns, acidic and bitter. They leave wearing tight smiles, promising they'll figure something out. I stand watching the door close, wondering how many similar ambushes I've endured and softened to over the years. 2 hours later, my phone buzzes with a credit alert. I excuse myself mid-client presentation and check the notification. Unusual activity on Visa account number 4719. But I never open such an account. The afternoon unravels into a blur of calls and hold music. A credit card carrying my name shows $9,600 in charges at home improvement stores. Facebook spits up cheerful family vacation photos from a Lake Michigan trip I was never invited to. Then a collection agency rings, demanding payment for Nolan's truck loan, my forged signature etched across the cosigner line. Sloane listens carefully when I call her. "This is a clear pattern," she says, her voice even, professional. "We're looking at systemic financial exploitation. How soon can you meet?" "Tomorrow morning. I'll bring everything." "And Mara." Her voice softens slightly. "Change your locks tonight." I end the call as Avery steps into my office, carrying a bulky envelope. "Your cousin Riley phoned. She insisted I give you this directly, not by mail." She hesitates. "She said it involves your grandparents' Florida property." My hands shake as I slit the seal. Inside, notarized documents tumble out, a timeshare transfer bearing my forged signature from 3 years ago. I never signed it. Behind it lies something worse, a copy of my grandparents' will, clearly highlighting a separate inheritance marked for me. An inheritance I never received. The phone rings again. "Sloane. I've reviewed the preliminary records," she says without preamble. "We now have a documented trail of exploitation going back at least 5 years. This isn't just opportunistic behavior, Mara. This crosses into criminal fraud." Something inside me shifts, not only the crushing recognition of betrayal, but an unexpected lightness. That night, organizing my desk, I find a receipt, the platinum watch I gifted Dad last Christmas. $750 I couldn't afford, yet spent to make him smile. Attached is a return slip, dated December 26th. Store credit issued to Victor Ellison. $750. The next morning, I meet Riley in a downtown coffee shop. She looks older, tempered by years away, but steadier too. "They did the same to me," she begins without small talk. When I questioned why Uncle Victor handled Grandma's estate instead of the legal executor, suddenly I was excluded. Mom spread rumors that I had mental health problems. It was character assassination. I cradle my mug. "How much did they take from you?" "From me? About $40,000 in inheritance I can prove." She slides a folder across the table. "From you?" "Based on these documents, nearly $300,000 over the past decade." My stomach lurches, but my voice doesn't waver. "How did you get all of this?" "Aunt Naomi left her email logged into my laptop during Thanksgiving," Riley replies. "I've been collecting evidence since. They've been selling family properties for years, properties with our names on the deeds." That afternoon, Sloane calls again. "I spoke with my partners. We'll take your case pro bono." There's an edge of emotion in her tone. "Mara, this is elder abuse reversed. You are not alone." Later, my mentor Lena advises a strategy: compile everything into organized packets. Chronological, factual, unemotional. Let the documents speak louder than feelings. Avery stays late 3 nights in a row, color-coding years of financial evidence. When she seals the final envelope, she looks at me gravely. "You realize this is war?" I shake my head slowly. "No. This is justice." A certified letter goes out, summoning my family to a Saturday meeting at my home office. They attempt to reschedule 3 separate times. I refuse. On Thursday night, Nolan calls drunk and seething. "You need to stop harassing the family. Mom's blood pressure is through the roof because of your games." "I'll see you Saturday at 10, I answer before hanging up. When he calls back 6 more times, I block him too. Friday evening, Avery helps me arrange the improvised conference room. Water glasses aligned, notepads placed, every detail measured. As she works, I pull open a desk drawer and reveal my final weapon, a leather-bound binder labeled Family Karma Audit. Her eyes widen as I flip it open, revealing meticulous records spanning 15 years, bank statements, screenshots of texts, scanned checks, loan agreements never honored. "You've been keeping track all along," she breathes. "Yes." My finger slides down the last column of the spreadsheet. $297,842.16. She exhales slowly. "And what will you do now?" I close the binder with a soft snap. Give them one chance to make it right. Saturday arrives. The conference table gleams beneath the recessed lights. I've placed them deliberately, my parents opposite me, Nolan beside them, Riley on my right, and attorney Sloane Parker commanding the head of the table. Avery stands silently by the credenza, orchestrating coffee service with professional calm. Thank you all for coming, I say at last, opening the leather portfolio that contains the evidence of everything my family has stolen. I've asked you here because there are patterns that can no longer be ignored. My words settle into the air like a stone dropped into still water. Mom fiddles nervously with her pearl bracelet. Really, Mara, don't you think this is a bit much? Such a formal setting for a family talk. This is not a chat, I reply, sliding the first folder across the polished surface. This is a documented account of the financial support I've provided to this family over the last 15 years. Dad's face strains of color as his eyes catch on the total at the bottom, $297,842.63. Attorney Sloane distributes identical packets around the table. As you can see, she says in her measured voice, Miss Ellison has kept meticulous records. Nolan lets out a derisive laugh and pushes the packet aside. This is absurd. You've been keeping score? Families don't nickel and dime each other. Strange, I reply evenly, since the only coins ever counted were mine. I press a button on the remote. On the screen, grainy security footage from First National Bank flickers to life. This was recorded 3 months ago. That's you, Nolan, using my driver's license and social security card to enter my accounts. The silence is suffocating. Brooke shifts in her chair, avoiding my eyes. Mom whispers, voice trembling in its well-practiced fragility, after all we've done for you, how can you turn on your own family? Dad adopts his familiar mask of confusion, the same feigned blankness he wore when questioned about tools disappearing from my garage. I don't recall any of this. My memory isn't what it used to be. Nolan stands abruptly, chair scraping the hardwood. I don't need to sit here and watch you attack Mom and Dad. I'll make sure everyone knows how cruel you're being. Please do. I press the remote again. Nolan's own voice fills the room. Mara is such a pushover. Just mention Dad's medical bills, and she hands over another check. The best part? She's so busy working, she never notices when a little extra goes missing. His laughter echoes like shattered glass. Nolan lunges toward the door, but Sloane moves smoothly into place. I strongly suggest you stay seated, Mr. Ellison. We're not finished. Riley clears her throat and spreads her folder across the table. I brought the documentation on the Florida timeshare. These signatures were forged. Handwriting analysis confirms it. Mom's mascara streaks down her cheeks. Dad grips his chair's armrests until his knuckles turn white. Identity theft carries serious consequences, Sloane explains coolly. Forgery, wire fraud, unauthorized use of accounts, each is a prosecutable offense, and combined, they carry potential prison terms. Avery quietly sets coffee cups in front of everyone. Not a single hand moves toward them. I look from face to face. If you discovered your family had stolen your identity and siphoned nearly $300,000 over more than a decade, would you press charges, or would you grant them one last chance to make it right? The question lands like a hammer. Mom's composure collapses first. Her shoulders curl, her eyes fixed on the spreadsheet. We never meant. You meant exactly this, I cut her off. Your messages spell it out clearly. Check Mara's account before she notices. That's intent, not accident. Nolan bolts upright again. This is insane. I'm leaving. Sloane doesn't move. There are 2 police officers outside in my car. One word from Miss Ellison, and they'll enter with warrants. Dad remains silent, staring at the table. Mom's sobs deepen, stripped of theatrics, raw and ragged. You can't destroy your own family like this, she cries. You destroyed it, I answer, my voice calm, though fire burns beneath. Every time you dismissed me as independent while exploiting my earnings. Every time you toasted Nolan's failures and minimized my success. Every forged signature. Every theft. Brooke suddenly stands, her chair skidding backward. I didn't know any of this. Nolan told me Mara approved those loans. Her eyes narrow at him in disgust. He reaches for her arm. She jerks away. Don't touch me. With her purse clutched tightly, she strides for the door. Sloane steps aside to let her leave. The family unity that entered my office an hour ago has shattered into fragments. Mom dabs at her ruined makeup, Dad stares mutely at the table, and Nolan scans their faces desperately, waiting for someone else to clean up his mess like always. I snap my portfolio shut. Now, let's talk about how you're going to make this right. Mom sniffles into her tissue, coral lipstick still immaculate despite her tears. We only wanted to give Nolan a good start. You already had your business. Dad leans forward, fingers drumming on the mahogany. We always planned to leave you more in the will, to even things out later. Nolan perks up at the mention of inheritance. What we need is a family retreat. Some healing time. Not this. Legal circus. He waves toward Sloane. Mom nods quickly. Yes, that's right. Your father and I could sign over the Scottsdale timeshare as fair exchange. The fees are reasonable and you'd have a vacation spot whenever you wanted. The same worthless property they failed to offload last year. The one still burdened by unpaid fees. I meet each of their eyes before opening Sloane's prepared portfolio. From it, I draw 2 sealed envelopes. My voice sounds different now, lower, steadier than I've ever allowed it around them. I'm offering 2 paths today. The first, I place the envelope in the center, is a legal repayment plan with interest, spread over 5 years. I lay the second envelope beside it. The second contains formal complaints for fraud, forgery, and identity theft, ready for the district attorney's office. The silence is brittle, like ice cracking underfoot. For 15 years, I've supported this family. I spread the documents across the table like playing cards. Now you decide whether to settle your debt or face the consequences you've earned. Today, that ends. My voice carries a finality that reverberates through the room. Sloane slides a thick folder forward. These are verified bank statements showing systematic transfers from Maura's accounts into yours over the past 10 years. She opens to a highlighted section. Here is a credit check that reveals multiple accounts created in Maura's name without her consent. Nolan's complexion fades to gray as Sloane continues. This notarized affidavit from the bank manager confirms unauthorized access attempts to Miss Ellison's account on the very day you provided your son with $85,000. Dad tips his head back, staring at the ceiling. Mom's hands quiver in her lap. And here, Sloane adds, tapping a thick bundle of pages, are text messages between family members planning to tap into Maura's funds. The timestamps are explicit. They were sent less than 24 hours before that gift to Nolan. I rise, pacing the perimeter of the table, the air charged against my skin. Mother, I stopped just behind her chair. You called me independent when what you really meant was convenient. A dependable cash machine who wouldn't raise questions. She flinches, but keeps her gaze fixed forward. I circle to Dad. You drilled into me that family comes first, then weaponized that principle. Every dollar I gave you is proof of my loyalty, yet somehow it was never enough to earn yours. His shoulders sag beneath the weight of truth. Finally, I stand behind Nolan. You called for advice about investments while forging my signature on credit applications. Those late-night calls weren't about guidance, were they? You were filling out paperwork with my name. Nolan says nothing, jaw clenched tight, eyes glued to the table. Sloane slides the repayment contract forward, uncapping 2 sleek black pens. This agreement lays out repayment in monthly installments across 60 months, with the option to pay early without penalties. The grandfather clock in the hall tolls 13 times before Mom's hand trembles toward a pen. Dad follows. Then Nolan. Their signatures scratch across the paper, a sound that lands like victory. Nolan empties his wallet, dropping 3 credit cards face down on the table. These carry your name, he mutters. Dad leans close to Mom, speaking low but audible. We'll need to put the house on the market. The club membership too. Sloane catches my eye, a subtle nod. This wasn't her suggestion. They arrived here on their own. Riley finally speaks. And the Florida property? The one Grandma left to me and Maura. Mom jerks upright. How did you? Public records, Riley replies calmly. That sale closed 3 years ago. Dad scrawls his final signature, the motion more defeat than defiance. We'll figure something out. An hour later, the house is empty. Only Avery remains, quietly stacking cups and aligning chairs. They signed, I say, still in disbelief. Of course they did. She squeezes my shoulder gently. For the first time, they saw you. That evening, after dinner with Sloane, I return to find my answering machine blinking. One new message. I brace myself, finger hovering over delete. Maura, Mom's voice begins, subdued. We need to talk about the house. Your house. The Oakwood Hills home you lost last spring. The buyers backed out yesterday. It's yours, if you still want it. The message ends. The machine beeps in the darkened room. A month later, I sit across from the real estate agent at a heavy oak table. Just your signature here and here, Miss Ellison, she says, coral lipstick matching the folders spread before us. I use the fountain pen my mentor Lena gave me when I landed my first major client. Ink glides smoothly across the contracts. Congratulations, the agent beams. We actually had a higher offer from a family with 3 children, but the seller chose yours, an all-cash deal. No financing contingencies. No delays. No strings, I echo, fingertips brushing the grain of the table. Exactly. She presses a set of brass keys into my palm, heavy and gleaming on a leather fob. This one's paid in full. Through the windows, the lake glitters beneath the late afternoon sun, light scattering like countless mirrors. When she leaves, I remain in silence, breathing in cedar and pine. The stillness no longer feels suffocating, it feels like ownership, like belonging only to myself. Sloane texts as I arrange cheese and fruit for her visit. Still on for 4? Champagne's already cold. I reply with a smile. The mail carrier arrives, dropping a cream envelope into my box, the same stationery my parents once used for my graduation card, the one filled with empty congratulations while Nolan received checks. This envelope feels heavier. Inside, a check for $3,500 and a brief note on Mom's monogrammed paper. We're sorry. 2 words. No excuses. No justifications. No defense. Just the beginning of restitution I never thought would come. I file the check under restitution payments and continue preparing. Avery arrives first with potted herbs for my kitchen windowsill. Riley follows, carrying a hand-woven blanket. Sloane enters last with an aged bottle of scotch and a piece of news. Nolan's house is already listed as a short sale. Your parents sold their Cadillac, too. They'll be moving into a senior apartment next month. I nod, feeling no triumph, no grief, just clarity. We gather around the fireplace as dusk settles, for women bound not by blood but by loyalty. On the mantel above us rests a simple frame, my final family karma audit spreadsheet, accounts settled stamped across the bottom. To chosen family, Avery offers, glass raised. To independence, Riley adds. To boundaries that carry consequences, Sloane says with quiet satisfaction. I look at them, my circle of strength. To freedom. Later, when the house grows quiet again, I wander to the dock, feet skimming above the water. The lake stretches wide and endless, the horizon painted gold by the setting sun. My phone buzzes in my pocket. Mom's name lights the screen, that same old country song still her ringtone. I silence it without answering, watching the light fade across the rippling water. The weight between my shoulders, the one I've carried for years, finally dissolves. Independence was never the flaw that made me undeserving. Independence is what delivered me here, free at last. If your family twists your strength into an excuse to deny you support while draining your resources, would you have the courage to prove just how independent you can be? What would your own family karma audit uncover if you began recording today? Share your reflections in the comments. I read every single one.